Okay, so today on Reddit I found this post here, okay polarity, just do it. And then here the Shapertable by Kilohearts. And this is some kind of distortion device, but instead of editing the transfer curve, you can load in a wavetable and then morph through the wavetable and create different kinds of distortions with this. There's also DC filter here and a drive, mix knob and so on. So yeah, inside of Bitwig, I just use here a polymer synthesizer with a sine in there. And then we use here an FX grid. And inside of the FX grid, we use just a wavetable oscillator. And we switch this here to 0 to 1. And when we switch this to 0, we basically don't use the internal phase signal to change the position inside of the cycle here. We have to use the phase in, right? And we use here the audio in. We go to 100%. We also go into an oscilloscope here and pitch. So let's try this out. You can see here, it's actually down here. If I switch here the retriggering on, then we have the right signal. But you sometimes end up here with the DC offset, because these kind of wavetables are not really made for transfer curves. For transfer curves, you need to have the middle exactly on the zero crossing most of the times. So here you end up basically at some point somewhere in the wavetable. So that's why we need to implement some kind of a DC filter. So I'm just using a high pass filter, because this is just a very low frequency. It's just not on zero, and it's, yeah, basically a super deep bass, if you want to call it this way. So we just implement here a high pass, and you can go as low as it can get here on this one, and then you land basically on the zero line with this DC filter. So we can call this here DC filter. And then we can go out here. And then create distortions this way. You can also just load here maybe something more complex. I don't know, something like this. And you have basically a new distortion device. So it's basically the same as using this transfer curve here. But with the transfer curve, you just have one kind of transfer curve, and you can't morph between certain transfer curves. You can do something like this, right? Multiple of these, and then use a merge. Go in there and choose, let's say, a value. And then load in here some different ones. Maybe this one. And then you go into that, to here, then here. Okay. It kind of works the same. I'll put this over here. That's evil. And if you want to, you can also use multiple of these, right? 3. So if you don't want to use wavetables, you can also use just a bunch of transfer curves and then a merge and then morph or blend between these. We have a soft clip here. And then drive would be maybe just implement your amplify at the beginning. yeah. So if you don't want to use the wavetable and modulate the phase in the wavetable, you can also use transfer curves here and just merge it with the merge module and then use a value and blend between these transfer curves here. It's also possible. So this is how I would implement it. So I hope your question is answered. Thanks for watching. Leave a like. See you next time. Bye.